HOA president faked land titles to steal my ranch. Now I own everything she had. The sun hung low over the rolling hills of Karen Ranch, painting the sky in hues of amber and regret. For 30 years, I'd poured my soul into this land, 160 acres of sweat-soaked dreams, where my cattle roamed and my children learned the weight of honest work. My name is Caleb Holt, and this ranch was my legacy, passed down from my grandfather, who carved it from nothing. But legacies, I learned, are fragile things when greed sharpens its claws. It started with whispers. Karen Meadows, the HOA president of the neighboring gated community, had her eyes on my land. Her pristine cul-de-sacs and manicured lawns felt suffocated by my open fields, or so she said at town meetings. She wanted to modernize the area, turn my ranch into a golf course or some soulless condo sprawl. I laughed it off at first. Karen, with her tailored suits and fake smiles, didn't scare me, but I underestimated her. Greed doesn't always roar. Sometimes it slithers. The first blow came in the mail. A legal notice claiming my land title was invalid. Forged documents, stamped with official-looking seals, said the ranch belonged to the HOA acquired through a clerical error decades ago. My stomach churned as I read Karen's name signed at the bottom, her signature a smug flourish. She'd spent years building her empire, chairing the HOA, charming the county clerks, and, I later learned, bribing a surveyor to redraw boundary lines. My ranch, my home, was slipping through my fingers. I fought back, hired a lawyer, dug through dusty records, and rallied neighbors who'd grown tired of Karen's iron grip. But every step felt like wading through quicksand. At the county office, files went missing. Witnesses clammed up. Karen's influence ran deep, her connections a web I couldn't untangle. At night, I'd sit on my porch, staring at the stars, wondering if my grandfather's ghost was watching me fail. The courtroom became my battleground. On the final day of the trial, the air was thick with tension. Karen sat across from me, her eyes cold as steel, her lawyer spinning lies about my family's negligence. My hands shook as I presented my evidence: tattered deeds, old photos, anything to prove the ranch was mine. The judge, a stern woman with gray streaks in her hair, listened in silence. Then, a twist I never saw coming. A man shuffled into the courtroom, unassuming, with a limp and a worn briefcase. He was Amos, a retired clerk who'd worked the county office decades ago. Nobody knew he'd been watching the case from afar, haunted by a secret. In a trembling voice, he testified that Karen had paid him to alter records years ago. Guilt had eaten him alive, and now, facing his own mortality, he wanted to set things right. He handed over a hidden ledger, its pages yellowed but damning, showing every bribe, every forged signature. The courtroom gasped. Karen's face drained of color, her empire crumbling in real time. The judge's ruling was swift. The ranch was mine, always had been. But the law had a sharper edge. Karen's assets, her mansion, her cars, her offshore accounts were seized to cover damages. Fraud, forgery, and abuse of power stripped her bare. By some cruel twist of justice, I now owned everything she had. Her gated mansion, her sleek Mercedes, even the diamond earrings she wore to court, they were mine. The woman who'd tried to bury me was left with nothing but her name. I should have felt victorious, standing on her marble porch, keys in hand. But as I walked through her empty house, the silence was suffocating. Photos of her family lined the walls, smiling kids, a husband who'd left her years ago. I saw a woman who'd built a fortress of lies to fill some hollow part of herself. My victory tasted like ash. The ranch was safe, but at what cost? Neighbors I'd once called friends now whispered about justice like it was a spectator sport. The community was fractured, trust eroded. Even Amos, the clerk, vanished after the trial, his confession a fleeting act of redemption. I sold Karen's mansion and donated the money to a land trust, ensuring no one could touch the ranch again. But every sunrise over my fields feels heavier now. I see her face in the courtroom, not smug anymore, but broken. I wonder if I'd fought too hard, if vengeance had blurred into cruelty. The land is mine, but the scars of this fight hers. Mine, the town won't fade. What would you do when justice feels like revenge? Share your thoughts on where the line lies.